susunod na programa ay rated PG. Patnubay at gabay ng magulang ay kailangan sa mga batang manonood.
In a nation situated along the Pacific Ring of Fire, where earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis are constant realities, one institution stands at the forefront of protecting lives through science, technology, and timely information. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, serves as the country's premier agency for monitoring geologic hazards, conducting scientific research, and promoting disaster preparedness among communities nationwide. Through its round-the-clock monitoring systems and expert advisories, PHIVOLCS plays a critical role in helping Filipinos understand the forces of nature and prepare for potential disasters before they strike. Tonight, we shine the spotlight on the agency that serves as the nation's guardian against geologic threats in steering its mission of resilience, public safety, and scientific excellence. I am Romel Miranda, and this is the Game Changer. Our guest tonight has dedicated his career to understanding the powerful forces that shape our planet and to helping protect millions of Filipinos from the threats posed by earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis. A respected geologist, science communicator, and public servant, he currently serves as the director of DOST-PHIVOLCS, where he leads the country's efforts in geologic hazard monitoring, disaster preparedness, and public safety. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Game Changer, Dr. Teresito C. Bacolcol. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening, sir, and thank you for having me here.
Oh, sir. Before we discuss the works of PHIVOLCS today, can you share with us your journey in the field of geoscience and how your experience prepared you for the responsibility of leading this agency, sir?
Okay, so I finished my bachelor's degree in geology. That was in 1995. Then after graduation, I worked for some time, for 6 months in a mining company, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
And so I decided to move to PHIVOLCS, and the rest is history. After that, when I joined PHIVOLCS, PHIVOLCS sent me to out of the country to get further degrees. I took my master's and it's a master's equivalent because they have different system.
Yes.
So as well as my PhD in University of Paris 6. It's Pierre E. Marie Curie University, but it's now called Sorbonne University.
Sorbonne
University.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir, as director of PHIVOLCS, what principles, professional experiences have been most valuable to you in guiding the agency through these increasingly complex geologic challenges of the country?
So I'm guided with with 3 words: science saves lives.
Oh,
so basically,
that's
we use science. We use the data that we get through science in order to prepare people from geologic hazards.
What are the primary tasks, or what is the mandate of the PHIVOLCS in terms of not just monitoring, but also in terms of what you say, science saving lives?
Okay, so PHIVOLCS basically is the science, is a service institute of the Department of Science and Technology, tasked to study volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and tsunamis, and how to prepare for them. We do information dissemination campaigns. We go to the communities. We provide lectures, and at the same time, we also do research, because what we give to the public should come from basic science, basic research.
Yes, sir. Organization-wise, sir, how are you structured? Aside from your, I understand you have a head office here in Quezon City, do you have provincial, regional offices or municipality offices, sir?
We have field stations. We call that field stations. We don't call it regional centers. We don't call it provincial centers. We have field stations. We have 29 field stations, and we also have mirror stations. We have the Tagaytay station, mirror station. We have the Cebu mirror station, and we also have the Mindanao mirror station.
Why do you call them mirror stations, sir?
Because if something happens in the main office, they would be able to replicate the data gathering, the processing in those stations. That's the reason why we call them mirror stations.
Okay.
Because the main office, we're in Metro Manila, and we all know that the West Valley Fault transects Metro Manila. So if something happens, if there's a big earthquake, people are anticipating this is the big one. If the big one would happen and it would affect the operation in the main office, our operation would transfer to our mirror stations.
Meaning, in terms of capability, sir, of monitoring and handling the communication all over your field sites, Cebu and what's the other province?
Mindanao.
Cebu, we're
In
Mindanao.
Davao.
In Davao. So Cebu and Davao would have that capability.
That's right. And then aside from that, we have other seismic stations. We call that staff-controlled stations. So sila yung frontline namin. If there's an earthquake in their area of responsibility, they answer queries from the media, from the LGUs.
All those monitoring sites, sir, are they manned, or do you have remote sites that are just purely equipment?
So the stations that I mentioned are manned stations, but we also have remote stations, satellite-controlled stations. We have more than 100 stations all over the country, but those remote stations are still not enough.
Okay, sir. In terms of not getting enough, sir, I think that's one of the things that we realize in our interviews with government agency. Of course, funding would always be not enough.
That's right.
But in terms of percentage, sir, how much do we have in terms of monitoring sites, and how much more is in the wish list for us?
Okay, so for the size of the country, like the Philippines, we need 300 seismic stations.
Yes, sir.
And right now we only have 129. So we have 130. So we need 170 more to have the complete, the ideal density of seismic stations for the size of the Philippines. Taiwan, which is 1/10 the size of the Philippines, has around 297 seismic stations. And it's just 1/10 the size of the Philippines, whereas,
Yeah.
Philippines, which is 10 times bigger, has only 129.
I think, sir, other agencies would have a similar line as far as wanting more in terms of capability and what actually our country can afford at the moment. Sir, we have witnessed recurring volcanic unrest and eruptions in the recent years. What are the major challenges that the agency face in monitoring these active volcanoes and ensuring that people are informed, local government are informed, and are made to act on these incidents, sir?
Okay, so we have 24 active volcanoes. We have 27 potentially active volcanoes, and one of the challenges that we have when it comes to monitoring our active volcanoes is that, again, it's still a question of resources.
Yes, sir.
Out of the 24 active volcanoes, we are only monitoring 10. And out of the 10 monitored active volcanoes, only 2 have the ideal number of stations, the ideal number of equipment, which this is Taal and Mayon.
Taal and Mayon.
And the rest, we only have minimum, the minimum for the rest, the 8 others. So that's one of the challenges that we have. Another thing, for instance, would be following the permanent danger zone recommendations. Kami naman sa PHIVOLCS, we recognize the realities on the ground.
Yes, sir.
Especially for Mayon Volcano. There are people living inside the PDZ or the permanent danger zone because nandun yung kabuhayan nila. They have their houses there, they tend their farms. But the bigger challenge would be to relocate them, outside the permanent danger zone. But of course, that's already the purview of the LGU. So, ang recommendation namin, they should be resettled somewhere, outside the PDC because it will be cheaper in the long run. Instead of, every time the volcano erupts, we evacuate them. And, the volcano recently it erupted in 2020. Prior to its eruption, now there's still an ongoing eruption. It erupted in 2023. We evacuated. Well, the LGUs evacuated people living inside the PDC, and then 3 years after, you have to evacuate them again. So it would be costly. It would be cost effective in the long run if you resettle them permanently.
Permanently, okay, sir. But of course, sir, sometimes I think the people rely on their indigenous knowledge on the activity of the volcano, and at the same time, I saw one article saying the soil around the volcano is really rich. Well, obviously because of the minerals that the volcano would deposit around the volcano. But in terms of for example, sir, in terms of monitoring, out of this, you say 24, you actively monitor 10, right, sir? And how about the other 14? Instead of monitoring, do you do community engagement so that at least the LGU and the immediate community are prepared for any eventuality?
Yeah, we do that, and every time we go to areas where there are active volcanoes, regardless of it's being monitored or not, we inform the people, we inform the LGUs that you have this active volcano right here, and you have to consider this as a part when you develop your comprehensive land use plans.
Okay, sir. One of the most discussed disaster scenarios in the country, sir, is the so-called big one. Okay, what preparations has PHIVOLCS undertaken to help government agencies, local communities, and the private sector become more resilient in an event of a major earthquake, sir?
Okay, so the big one, when we talk about the big one, we were talking about the magnitude 7.2 that will be generated by the West Valley Fault, because there are, in other parts of the country, there are bigger ones as well. So, but again, let's assume that we're referring to the big one, 7.2. 7.2. If you're referring to the big one, the magnitude 7.2 earthquake that would hit, that would be generated by the West Valley Fault, we have strong collaborations with the LGUs. We do information dissemination campaigns. We do walk the fault. Tinutulungan namin yung mga LGUs. Tinitrace namin together with their DRR officers kung saan yung location ng mga faults. And we also, yung mga LGUs, they put up markers. And in fact, last month, we went to Muntinlupa, and naglagay din tayo ng marker doon. Well, it's the LGU that provided the marker. But we helped them identify where the trace of the West Valley Fault is.
Yes, sir. I think, sir, also one of the comments with regard to the marking of the fault is that your agency might be accused of creating some sort of fear in the minds of some people. And the effect of that would be the devaluation of the land around the fault. But I think in the long run, it is still important to consider the cost, not just in terms of the infrastructure that would be destroyed in case that happened, but also on the lives of the people who live there. Right now, sir, do you have an estimate on how many houses, how many buildings are actually either directly lying on the fault or very near the fault that it would the big one would actually cause substantial damage to those immediate infrastructures, sir?
Okay, so we have around 3,000 buildings sitting on top of an active fault.
Wow.
And kami naman sa PHIVOLCS, ang sinasabi namin, nirecommend namin, dapat walang structure on top of an active fault. And we provide buffer zones. We also recommend buffer zones like 5 meters on both sides of an active fault. And again, the LGUs are aware of this one.
But and yet there are buildings on top of it, right, sir?
There are, for example, sa Muntinlupa, ang ginagawa nila, they provide incentives. If your property is transected by an active fault, they would give you, the LGU would provide incentives. Okay, you move away. May mga residential buildings din transected by the West Valley Fault. In fact, this information is available online. We have the Hazard Hunter PH, and you can actually see where the trace of the fault is, and you can see which buildings, which houses are transected by
Sir,
the fault.
can we just repeat that again? So what specific site is this so that the people who are interested might want to look at it?
It's called Hazard Hunter PH. You just Google it, and then makikita mo na yung trace doon. And anywhere, kung saan sa Pilipinas you want to know kung saan yung mga active faults natin, kung ano yung mga buildings transected, you can see it there. Hindi lang active faults yan, but also other hazards as well. We have, again, of course, the active faults are there. You have other earthquake-related hazards like liquefaction, tsunami-prone areas, earthquake-induced landslides, ground shaking, nandun din sa Hazard Hunter PH. And then, not only for geologic hazards, for earthquake-related hazards, but also for volcanic hazards, nandun din. And as well as hydromet hazards. So may mga mapa doon. These maps are provided by the mandated agencies for the earthquake-related hazards and volcano-related hazards. It's provided by PHIVOLCS. For hydromet hazards, it's provided by Pag-asa and MGB.
Sir, just to give us an idea, and the people, to give an idea on how big is this or how wide is this fault, can you give us some sort of a measure, sir, on how wide or extensive this, not the length, sir, no? As you mentioned, it stretches from Bulacan
all the
up
way
to Cavite. But in terms of the width of the fault, sir, how wide is this, sir?
Yung width ng fault, if there's a rupture for instance, kaya meron tayong 5-meter buffer zone. Yung deformation zone natin would be 5 meters on both sides. So that's the reason why we recommend na walang may buffer zone tayo, of course walang structure on top of an active fault, and then sana may buffer zone, wag silang magtatayo 5 meters on both sides. But of course, yung may mga nakatira na doon, may mga bahay na before these faults were identified.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ang recommendation natin is informed decision. Yung mga tao doon, they should be informed of the risk by staying there. If they want to stay there, of course that's their property, right?
Yes,
but
sir.
they should be informed of the risk.
Oh, sir. Aside from volcano, aside from earthquake, PHIVOLCS is also monitoring possible tsunamis, sir. How extensive is our monitoring, and what kind of international or multilateral cooperation do we have in order to effectively monitor tsunamis, sir?
Okay, so meron tayong dalawang klaseng tsunami, the far-field tsunami and the near-field tsunami. So when we say far-field tsunami, these are the tsunamis that be generated by, say, a trench in Chile. And we're part of the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. So if there's a big earthquake in Chile, we would be informed immediately. So it would take 24 hours, at least 24 hours before the tsunami waves would arrive, and it would affect the eastern coastlines. But if it's locally generated tsunami, meron tayong mga sea level monitoring stations. But of course, again, as I mentioned, this is not enough. And yung best course of action natin is that yung dapat alam ng mga tao kung ano yung signs of an impending local tsunami. Yun yung near field tsunami, local tsunami, you call that. Kasi we have no more time to warn them. Ang mangyari kasi, like what happened during the August 17 magnitude 8.1 earthquake in Cotabato, it only took 5 minutes before the tsunami waves arrived. And it happened close past midnight. That's the reason why ang laki ng casualty, 8,000 people died. And of course, we would try to warn, as much as possible. Pero if it would only take 5 minutes, imposibleng mangyari yun. So the people if you're living in a coastal community, dapat aware ka kung ano yung mga impending signs of a local tsunami. First, there's a strong shaking.
Sir.
If you're in, kahit wala ka sa coastal community, dapat alam din natin to because sometimes pupunta tayo sa beach.
How about the receding of the water, sir?
Isa yan. Okay, first, there's a strong ground shaking na halos hindi ka na makatayo. There's a sudden drop of sea level. Yun yung second. And there's a roaring sound coming from the sea. Kahit isa man lang dito sa tatlo, ma-observe mo, nasa dalampasigan ka, then you have to move right away.
You should seek safety already.
That's right. Wag nang, like there was this earthquake when was that? In 2023, November?
In Japan, sir?
No, in the Philippines.
In the Philippines.
That's the Sarangani earthquake. And yung mga kababayan natin, instead of moving right away, like evacuating, ang ginawa, kumuha pa ng cellphone and then nag-Facebook Live. And nakikita na nagre-recede ng tubig.
Yes,
Paano kung bumalik yon as, tsunami waves na malalaki? Kasi, for example, in Philippine trends in Samar, we would expect tsunami waves to go as high as 10 meters.
10 meters.
So kung ganun yung nangyari, di naging casualty ka na. So dapat, nakita mo, nag-recede yung tubig, then you have to move right away to a higher place.
How about, sir, what happened in Japan, sir? How was the prediction, the monitoring of that? And we have seen the extent of the damage, sir. I think, sir, if that happened here in the country, it would have been very, disastrous, more than what Japan experienced. How was it predicted? How was it monitored, sir? And what was the Japan experience, sir?
Again, earthquakes are random events; they cannot be predicted.
But
What happened there was that there were a series of events prior to that main event. There were aftershocks, and okay lang if okay lang kung yung mga earthquakes that happened prior to the main shock. Kasi when ang nangyari kasi doon, you have we call that foreshocks. These are the events that happened before the main shock. The thing is, the determination if it's a foreshock or not is on the hindsight.
Hindsight, yes.
Saka mo lang malalaman na, foreshock pala yun kasi may big event that followed.
Yes.
So, yun. The thing is, sa Japan, like what you've said, kung dito nangyari sa Pilipinas, it would be more devastating kasi Japan, the Japanese people are their culture of safety is well entrenched.
Yes.
So yung preparation nila
and I think their experience and their awareness
right.
of the extent of earthquake and tsunamis is really advanced than us.
That's right. Something that we should also strengthen. We should adapt here in the Philippines.
In speaking of that, sir, how would you compare, sir, the infrastructure, the system, the processes, and the policy that we have now compared before, and how much improvement have we accomplished in terms of monitoring and preparing for such disasters, sir?
Okay, so early 2000, yung number of seismic stations natin, mga nasa around 60 lamang.
60.
So through the years, nadagdagan na. Again, nasa 129 na tayo ngayon. And before, we only record at least 5 earthquakes a day. Kasi hindi dense yung network natin. But right now, we record at least 30 earthquakes a day. So, ibig sabihin, habang nagiging dense yung network natin, kahit yung mga maliliit na earthquakes na monitor natin. So I would say that we are much better prepared now than before, but of course there's still a long way to go. At one thing also, ang laki ng naitulong ng social media, when it comes to awareness ng mga
How
tao.
come, sir?
Kasi, say, if there's an earthquake in Abra, seconds lang, alam na kaagad ng mga tao, from the rest of the Philippines, like what happened in Bogo earthquake in Cebu last year. Seconds lang, kumalat na agad yung information sa internet. So, mas naging aware yung mga tao ngayon. Nakikita nila kung ano yung response ng mga tao. So, there was also an earthquake in Baguio following that event. And alam kaagad ng mga tao kung ano yung gagawin nila. Yung mga estudyante, they did the duck cover and hold. Pero yung mga iba naman, instead of doing the duck cover and hold, sitakbuhan. So, delikado po yun kasi pwede kang matapilok while running and magkakaroon ng stampede. But I would say that we're more prepared now than before kasi as I've said, through the internet, through the social media, mabilis kumalat yung information. But of course, may downside din doon. Mabilis din kumalat yung fake information, misinformation.
Sir, do you have some sort of a command control center where all of these are being monitored and actually being supervised by the Office of the Director, sir?
Yes, we have the data receiving center in our main office in Quezon City. People are welcome to visit our main office. And we do the processing there, and then we send out the information. If there's an earthquake, for instance, somewhere in the Philippines, we process immediately the data and binibigay kaagad natin ito sa Office of the Civil Defense. Nagkakascade nila, sila yung nagkakascade doon sa mga LGUs. And at the same time, we also do parallel distribution of information. So we do the informal channels, social media. So ngayon, mas mabilis mas mabilis kumalat yung information natin. So coming from the main office.
Thank you, sir. When we return, we'll talk about the challenges of leading one of the country's most important scientific agencies, the innovations transforming PHIVOLCS, and how Dr. Bacolcol continues to make a difference as a true game changer. Stay with us. The Game Changer will be right back.
2025 was a meaningful year for Bingo Plus Foundation. As our purpose grew, it was time for a new chapter. Introducing DigiPlus Foundation.
Education is the bridge to opportunities. Through the Future Smart program, we empower learners and educators nationwide. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply learning for a better future.
Healthcare should come with no barriers. Kalusugan Plus delivers medical missions, and Embrace Plus mental health support, which empower every Filipino through compassionate and accessible healthcare. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply healing. One patient, one community at a time.
Every dream deserves a chance. In Wish Plus, we grant wishes, empowering individuals, families, and communities together with their partners. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply hope, dignity, and possibilities.
Disasters don't wait. Through the Bayanihan Plus program, we mobilize immediate response and recovery efforts. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply the spirit of Bayanihan across the nation.
DigiPlus Foundation is committed to delivering on our promise to bring help within everyone's reach. When support becomes accessible, impact doesn't just grow, it multiplies.
Madali pa mag-cash in sa Bingo Plus?
Sa Bingo Plus.
Official partner na namin ng Bayad Center. Easy!
License ba yun ng popcorn? Sa Bingo Plus.
Kaya responsible gaming lagi.
Ang fun!
Gaming? Na may insurance?
Sa Bingo Plus.
Sa PhilFirst, insured ang wallet mo ng 1 million pesos.
Safe nga! Talaga namang...
Sa Bingo Plus.
Partnered with Bayad Center, licensed by PAGCOR, protected by PhilFirst.
Sa Bingo Plus.
The best players succeed because they set boundaries. Every great athlete wins with control. Always have a game plan.
We want Dubai to be number one. That's the vision. Back then, it seemed like a desert dream. But we had brothers who believed that our desert is a land of endless opportunities, who believe nothing is impossible to a willing heart. The Filipinos. And so they came, the best and the brightest, with the will and the skill to build the biggest and the tallest. Shukran, brother Filipinos. Your hearts and your minds help give life to our Dubai dreams.
I am Chris. I am the Philippines.
Welcome back to The Game Changer. We now turn our attention to the man leading PHIVOLCS. We'll discuss the challenges of managing one of the country's most important scientific agencies, the lessons he has learned throughout his career, and how his leadership continues to strengthen disaster preparedness and public safety in the Philippines. Let us continue our conversation with Dr. Teresito C. Bacolcol. Leading PHIVOLCS means carrying the responsibility of helping protect millions of Filipinos. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of your role as a director of the agency, sir?
You know, the most challenging role would be issuing statements to the public, because and making sure that the public understand what we're giving out. Earthquakes and earthquakes, as I mentioned, these are random events. You cannot really say when an earthquake would happen. So even at night time, when I sleep, my cell phone is with me, and every time my cell phone rings, I have this notification phobia already. Ano naman kaya nangyari? So may bulkan na naman sumasabog, or if there's an earthquake. And that's one of the challenges that I experienced being the director of PHIVOLCS. And of course, making sure that when we send out warnings, naintindihan ng mga tao.
Sir, how many geologists and scientists with related training, knowledge, and experience like yourself, do we have in the country? Is our manpower enough, sir, in PHIVOLCS?
Unfortunately, hindi enough. So again, we only have 252 permanent positions, plantilla positions, and we have right now we have 400 staff, and half of that would be cost staff. When you say cost staff, they're hired provisionally. What happens here is that we hire them, we train them, and then they leave. Kasi walang security of tenure. Kasi cost staff. So
like contractual.
That's right, contractual. Okay. So isa yan sa mga sinusulong natin with PHIVOLCS modernization, madagdagan yung positions namin, maging 600, yung plantilla positions.
How about, sir, the salary grade of these employees, sir?
Yung isa din yan sa, again, challenges natin, kasi yung entry-level position, ang requirement natin is an engineer. And yung salary grade would just be around SG 9 or 10, and that would just be around 20,000. And if you're an engineer with license to boot, why would you work for a 20,000 peso salary? So isa din yan sa sinusulong natin with the PHIVOLCS modernization, mabago yung ating salary grade.
So I thought, sir, I thought before in a state university, sir, I think the entry level for faculty with engineering license is salary grade 12. So in your case, it's 8 or 9?
8. Yung mga namin, yung mga salary grade 13 is for a science research specialist. That would be during my time when I entered as SRS1. I think right now it's around 36,000 now. Entry level for salary grade 13. But it's science research specialist. Yung mga science research assistant natin, yun yung mas mababa pa. So, yun yung mga around 20,000 yung entry-level positions. And
So-
we require engineers. And yung may science background. So, nobody would want to work for, like a salary of 20.
Okay, sir. So aside from personnel, sir, how about technology capabilities? Do you have computers? Do you now use AI? Or what other innovations do you have or you plan to implement in PHIVOLCS, sir?
We have what we call information at your fingertips. Ito yun na nga, like Hazard Hunter PH, na-institutionalize na to sa PHIVOLCS through the efforts of the former PHIVOLCS director, who is right now the secretary of DOST-PHIVOLCS, Solidum. We have apps, we've developed apps para yung information would be given right away to the stakeholders. We have the Volcano PH app. Makukuha mo agad yung mga volcano bulletins natin. You don't even have to go to our website. Through the app, makukuha mo na kaagad. We plan to, again, incorporate AI in our analysis of our, on the waveforms, yung mga seismic signals natin, para mapabilis, hindi na yung manual. And para ma-lessen natin yung pagbigay ng information. Right now, ang target natin is after an event, dapat makapag-provide tayo ng information sa Office of the Civil Defense within 13 minutes. But we would like to shorten that with the help of the AI. Target natin 5 minutes.
But this is mostly on the analysis side already, sir.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
the data is available naman, no?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, sir. Sir, I'm sure you have been around the country, sir. And you go to different communities, you talk with LGUs, and hopefully the policymakers. So, sir, what are the lessons that you have learned that would actually help you further in leading this agency, sir?
Lessons learned that would help me further in leading the agencies that hindi kami maging effective if we don't partner with the LGUs. So PHIVOLCS provides science, but it's the LGU that converts the science into action. So we recommend buffer zone or permanent danger zone. We can only recommend, but it's really up to the LGU. It's within their purview to implement this recommendation. So we really have, in order for the science to work, we really have to work closely with the LGUs.
Okay, sir. So far, sir, what kind of network, or it's just really a agency to LGU linkage, or do you now form a network where you could regularly meet or regularly update each other regarding certain situations in the community, sir?
Yeah, we have. We provide trainings sa mga communities, we also sa DepEd, we also provide trainings sa mga teachers. Kasi minsan yung tinuturo na science, yung mga science teachers mismo nahirapan ding intindihan kasi it's very technical. So tinuturuan namin sila ano yung ibig sabihin nito and how this the science of earthquakes and volcanic eruption should be taught in schools. We also collaborate with the media. May mga media part. We do Science Infobit. This is a seminar for reporters para alam din nila. Kasi again, minsan, people are complaining na masyadong technical yung mga terms, masyadong highly scientific yung sa advisories natin. So, ini-explain din natin ito sa mga media para sila mismo alam din na paano ito relate paano ito sasabihin sa mga tao.
Yeah, sir. I think one of those things is the storm surge.
Yes, that's right.
The idea of storm surge, which was during my younger years, there was unknown. Okay, so I think they always associate that with or interchange that with the word tsunami and a storm surge. Okay, so I think some of those example of the gap between what is and what is assumed by the people is storm surge. Sir, specifically, since you assume, sir, what are some of the programs or initiatives that you started?
When I assume ang una kong sinulong is the PHIVOLCS modernization, and this was passed what became into law.
But this is not just ano, sir. Most modernization, kasi sir, like some of the agencies that we know, focuses more on the increasing of the fund. We know that yes, you cannot do anything without funding, but when we talk about modernization, specifically in a very technical, scientific agency like PHIVOLCS, what are some of the facets of this modernization, sir?
Okay, so first, increasing, again, as I mentioned, densifying our network. Second, for the seismic network. Second, making sure that the 24 volcanic 24 active volcanoes will have at least the minimum monitoring equipment. And third would be yung increasing the number of plantilla positions. Kasi very important yan. Unlike before na PHIVOLCS is mainly monitoring, right now we also have other responsibilities. Again, hindi na lang monitoring ginagawa namin. We also provide lectures. We closely work with the LGUs. We help them craft their comprehensive land use plans, their other disaster preparedness plans. And again, what I mentioned earlier, we help them trace where the faults are. So these are not monitoring work anymore. Hindi lang kami naghihintay na kakaroon ng sasabog yung bulkan or kakaroon ng lindol. Again, we do other works on the side, which is time consuming also. So kailangan namin ng additional personnel, because with additional personnel we would be able to help the LUs more.
Yes,
and
sir.
Basically yun naman yung yun naman yung main isa sa mga main mandates natin, making sure that the people are prepared when it comes to disasters.
I don't know the situation right now, sir, but when I was young, before we graduate in high school, I myself is an engineer. We were all excited to enter engineering. If your entry requirement, one of your entry requirements is an engineer, then we should be able to sustain the input of the production of graduates in engineering. Do you also involve yourself, sir, in promoting science, engineering, or mathematics to students in order to entice them to go into this particular field?
Yes, we do that, and we invite people to go into geology because I'm a geologist. Pero hindi lang man geology yung, if you want to work for PHIVOLCS, it's not only for geologists, again, for engineers as well. So we entice them, we help them. We meron tayong mga high school students na hino-host, and we also have mga college students nag-OJT sa opisina namin, and hoping na makikita nila kung ano ginagawa namin, and they would be enticed to stay.
Do you have specific scholarships pertaining to leading to a geology degree, or even probably potentially working for an agency like PHIVOLCS?
Right now, we don't offer scholarships, but once you work for PHIVOLCS, we can send you, outside the country for further training. Like myself, I joined PHIVOLCS first, and then afterwards, I was sent abroad to study.
Because I understand before there is the NSTP program, right? Where you have a lot of scholarship in sciences and engineering. Do we still have the DOST, sir?
Sa DOST meron sila. And again, it's yung DOST yung provide ng scholarships. And kasama na doon would be yung, again, if you're interested to study geology and or engineering for that matter, you can avail of the scholarships from the DOST. And kapag nag-graduate ka, we're hoping na you'll join us in PHIVOLCS.
Sir, this particular area of volcanology and seismology is not as famous to young kids, no, and even to people. But you and the agency somehow made it make people realize that we really need this, no? Not just in terms of knowing because an incident would happen, but actually the more important thing of reducing risk or managing risk in terms of our daily life, considering our country's location along the Pacific Rim of fire. For you, sir, what are the things that you consider to really change the game of PHIVOLCS in this particular field, sir?
Okay, so I would consider it a game changer if people would become more prepared, if the LGUs would take our hazard information seriously, and if science is being used in day-to-day decision making. So that for me is a big game changing.
Okay, sir. By the way, sir, how old are you, sir?
I'm 53.
53. Oh, he has a long way to go. Yes, he has 12 years in the service if he intends to stay. Oh, sir. But, sir, kidding aside, sir, what kind of legacy do you want to leave, sir, in PHIVOLCS in terms of the programs and projects that it actually espouses for the Filipino people, sir?
I want to, I would want to be remembered as somebody who brought science closer to the public. So of course other previous directors, especially yung si Secretary Solidum,
yes,
and si Director Punong Bayan, they did that already. They already laid the foundation for us. That's the reason why yung sinasabi ko palagi na we're standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yes.
The reason why we can see farther now, it's because of the people who came before us. And I want to I want to continue that legacy, bringing science closer to the people.
I think, sir, you're very right. I think one of the responsibilities of any prudent and responsible official like yourself, sir, is to really make the people understand not just the mandate but the specific programs and projects where they could actually take part with, with PHIVOLCS. And that's a good thing to hear, sir, from you, knowing that you have that motivation. Because me, growing up as a child, I always remember the last name of Director Punong Bayan, Director Solidum, even lately, sir. And they made science really closer to the people, and in the same manner that you're doing it now, sir. Science saves lives, but only when people listen, prepare, and act. Our conversation with Director Teresito C Bacolcol reminds us that resilience is not built during disasters. It is built long before they happen through knowledge, discipline, and collective responsibility. As natural hazards continue to challenge our nation, may we continue to support science, trust credible information, and do our part in building safer and more prepared communities. Because in the face of uncertainty, preparedness remains our greatest protection. Good evening, I am Romel Miranda, and this has been The Game Changer.